The other day, this girl told me that my nipple was falling out, and like it was, but nobody else told me, so I decided to just leave everything up.
Oh my god.
But like it was kind of out.
That's funny.
But I was like, if nobody else notices, then if I didn't notice and nobody else is, oh well.
I feel like Victoria Paris does stuff like that where like there
was literally a titty out in her picture the other day of a girl's full nipple when they were on a boat.
Yeah.
Let me find it.
I think I saw that.
I was like,
but she does not give a fuck. She's like,
how come it doesn't get taken down?
I think because it's just like it's like quick, and probably because she's skinny and pretty.
Damn, that's probably true. Like so many OnlyFans girls stuff gets taken down, or like,
but they're probably like on the radar of accounts to watch. And well, Victoria posts a lot of risky things. Yeah, she's always like, there was one where like it was her underwear. It was like her underwear and like her butt, but like it definitely showed like her vagina like a bit.
Really?
Oh, really? Yeah. And everyone's like in the comments was like, it's out. She's like, chill, it's like underwear. And it's like not really, but
I wish I was brave enough to do those things. I think I have like trauma from being a teenager that I like can't do things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Like I don't want people to see me like that way for some reason.
Like for them to sexualize you or like. Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely agree. I'm just like scared of like all the creepy dudes, especially because our accounts aren't private or anything.
Yeah.
If it was all just girls and we could all just hype each other up, I would totally post whatever I wanted. But like, I think also if you start doing that, then your demographics start to change on your account.
Mm-hmm. But like, some people, like I feel like Victoria Paris would still have more girls, don't you think? Or do you think that maybe her
Yeah, she definitely has. I'd be curious to see what her Instagram is. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I think her TikTok is mainly just women.
That's really interesting.
I'd be really curious about Alex Earls too. But I think that she probably still is more the girls. But again, Instagram, it could be completely different because most of those girls don't post their content on
or Instagram, like Kennedy posted one when she was like naked the other day in like a tin bath thing outside. Yeah. And her boobs looked so good. I forgot that they were fake for a second. And I was like, oh, I wish I had boobs like that. And then I was like, oh, wait, she literally has a boob job. I could get boobs like that.
Yeah. Like, I could do that.
Like, you kind of forget. That. But I think especially since everyone's been getting boob jobs, I feel like more people are like showing off their boobs right now. And that maybe makes me like jealous. Like, I wish I could do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I am curious, like, obviously there's some stuff that, like, Kennedy would probably never post on Instagram. But, like, why she doesn't, like, repost more of her videos on Instagram?
I find that very interesting with a lot of the TikTok people, like, that their Instagrams are very different. I, like, aspire to be like that almost. Like, I love how they just post pictures, kind of.
Because I think those people are so popular that they don't have as much of a crossover in audiences. So, like, all the girls follow Ken on TikTok for her vlogs or opinions, and then on Instagram for the pictures. Like, they don't want to see it twice.
Mm-hmm. But what's weird, you know that girl Jordan that I love so she has like over 500K on TikTok because she started on TikTok. She only has like 18K on Instagram. Yeah. But like her she gets like 100 comments. She gets like 9,000 likes on every picture.
Fuck, really?
It's like 50% engagement.
I've been thinking lately, and I think this is probably a good thing for my self-esteem and for my delusion. But I think there's like a conspiracy against me to not be able to be like that. Like there's a conspiracy that TikTok is not showing my videos to people.
Okay, you're being shadow banned.
I have been consistent and I have people that love my content. I've been consistent for like 2 years on TikTok and still I get the same shitty amount of views on all my videos. Meanwhile, like Jordan posts similar type of content and gets like 100,000 views on her like vlogs. So I'm like, who the fuck do I need to talk to? Who do I have
really
to pay?
wonder
like,
how much is like timing also with things, like where there may be like, oh, okay, now's the time, like, because it always seems like there's like 2 to 3 creators that are like popping off at once, and then it like slows down.
And I also wonder for you, Dev, if like you had so much of your audience built, like,
yeah, I wonder
even
if
though you
I would
still
have started
had, like,
a new account, would it have been way better? Like if I would have started from zero, because like, yeah, my TikTok maybe still thinks that I'm like a dog account, or my account is so old that they're not going to try pushing my content anymore because like.
I wonder if you just started like a Devon account and like reposted some of your content.
That'd be crazy. Like, what if it just like immediately popped off?
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised.
Maybe I'll try it.
You could always like make it kind of like a spam account. Like it could be like your fake spam account, but then like you could like switch over to it.
Yeah.
I think it's just hard to like, whenever people talk about starting over, I think it's just a really hard hit to your like ego.
Mm-hmm.
Like doing all the same things that you did when you first started your account, because it's not just starting over. It's like you have to actively find people to engage with. You have to actively like comment, like put in the effort to building relationships in a whole different way than you did before. And
also just like having the 0 followers.
Yeah, I don't think you'd like that, to be honest.
But like 1,000
it's hard.
followers.
Your ego is like, your ego is literally like, what the fuck?
Because you would be getting less, like you'll probably get 200, 300 views at first. Like, and that's going to be sucky to you when sucky to you now is thousands.
Because, you know, people who are well known on TikTok, as soon as people see their face, they stop and watch. So it would be interesting to see how many people would just recognize my face on a different account.
I think very interesting, because TikTok would push that account to them, like same way that we get spam accounts pushed to us and then we stop. Like I always like have to double check, like, is this their actual account or is this a spam account, or like what
I know,
yeah. And the same way too, like whenever someone posts, like when, you know, all those like TikTok gossip accounts like post Alex Earl, I think their videos like pop off because they're talking about Alex Earl.
Yeah.
And people know and love her.
That would also be a fun gig. I think like, it's just being one of those drama accounts.
I just think it would be so mind-numbing and
for sure. But like if you could make money and then it has nothing to do with you, like you only can talk about other people, it might be kind of fun.
You have to really enjoy that, because I think I would get sick of that.
I think I'd like that for like a little bit. You'd have to like not have the desire to share about yourself though at all, I guess.
Yeah. I also think that you would like, there's so much fake stuff that you would be reporting. Like, how do you know if you're reporting on real shit? Like,
well, that's like I kind of hate DeuxMoi now. Like literally all the reports are not true. Like there's never anything true. DeuxMoi?
Yeah.
You don't know DeuxMoi?
No.
Yeah, everything I see is like, okay, cool. Like,
yeah, DeuxMoi's like this anonymous reporting of pop culture-y things, and people like submit emails to her to report it. But she'll go on podcasts and things and use like her real voice, but she just doesn't show who she is.
Nobody knows who it is.
That's interesting.
It's a little weird.
Gossip Girl.
Literally. She's writing a book that's like kind of like Gossip Girl about
DeuxMoi is writing a book.
Yeah.
That's so fascinating.
I think it might also be becoming a show, but I could be wrong.
Oh, I think I heard that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
That'd actually be an interesting show concept, I think.
It sounds similar to Gossip Girl for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny. I saw this like thing that all the like early 2000s rom-coms and stuff, everybody's always a writer. Like, have you noticed that? Like, that always made me want to like work at magazines or like be a reporter, work for the newspaper.
Like, that is so true.
Like, I always wanted to like write dating columns for a newspaper or something, because like everyone did that in movies.
That's so fucking true.
A lot of the like even romance novels I read, the main character is like a writer or an aspiring writer.
Yeah, and books
I went down that road too. But let me tell you, I fucking love that character arc and that like love story. Like,
I wonder if writers write that because it's easier for them to just know that career, I guess. So it's like easier for them to make the character that way.
Probably.
Interesting.
That's one that I have to like take a beat on sometimes, like because I just go down a rabbit hole.
That's funny. Okay, well, welcome back to another episode of So Glad We're Friends. I'm Maggie.
I'm Devin.
I'm Brittany.
And today we're going to continue talking about relationships with influencers and celebrities and kind of the parasocial relationships that we get with the people we look up to and that some of our audience has with us as well.
Yeah. Emma Chamberlain recently did a podcast on this and it was really good. So if you're interested in it, go listen to her podcast. It was only like 30 minutes. But yeah,
can you recap her takes? Like her
I feel like I will be recapping her takes, but basically what she did was she talked about the pros and cons of parasocial relationships and then also talked about the difference because she's been on both sides of being the fan in the parasocial relationship versus being the public figure. And yeah, it was interesting because she had a lot of positive things to say about it, which I feel like a lot of people would just automatically think it's a negative thing.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of good that comes from it. And it's like almost impossible not to have these relationships today.
For sure.
In today's society.
True. That's what I was thinking about when I was trying to think of the topic of like just kind of today's society versus like when we were little growing up. Because I like first I think of myself as the fan. And like when I used to watch movies or things, I'd always love watching the bonus features and looking at the interviews of celebrities, or like then on YouTube, I'd like Google the celebrities and watch all their interviews that they did for the movie or whatever. And like now you can know every single detail almost about people's lives, where back then that's all you could get. Like you didn't know anything about Jennifer Aniston's day-to-day life.
Yeah. So first, I'm just going to read the definition just in case, because this is like a new term as well. Like I feel like I started hearing it this year, even though they've always existed.
Well, is it technically like with animals? Like I feel like that's where I learned about it. Like where one is it called something different? Like a symbiotic relationship, or like if a tick is on a cow or something, and then the cow isn't being.
Oh, I'm not.
That's
sure.
a symbiotic relationship.
Fuck, I need to look this up.
Where they're both benefiting. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Fully different thing, I think.
Oh, you're talking about like just the general concept though of it is like similar
like
to
one-sided,
like relationship.
Yeah, like symbiotic is like when you're both benefiting. Parasocial is like one-sided, right?
Yeah. Okay, so parasocial relationships are one-sided relationships where one person extends emotional energy, interest, and time, and the other party, which would be like the persona, the influencer, the celebrity, is completely unaware of the other's existence.
That's interesting.
That's interesting that it
would kind of argue that like one person that is extending the emotional energy, interest, and time, the persona is also extending the energy and time and interest, but it's not directed. It's directed to an invisible group,
a larger
of people.
But
like as influencers, we invest a lot of time. I mean, it's our whole job in like connecting with our audience and making sure that we're connecting with them.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I definitely think it's just a different type of investment.
That's interesting that you said doesn't know that they exist, because do you still consider it to be a parasocial relationship for somebody that's in your audience that DMs you occasionally that you talk to?
Yes.
Like where they're not a real fan.
Yeah. Oh, so there's this TikToker that just talked about this last week, and she's like a mom. And she was talking about how like the other moms at her kids' school follow her on TikTok. So they watch her TikToks every day and they feel like they know her because they see her every single day talking to them and talking about her life and blah, blah, blah. but she knows who they are, but she doesn't know. It's very one-sided. So like she'll go up to them at the school and they'll be like, oh my God, yeah, I saw that you did this, and I heard that you were talking about this. And like that one person is so much more in tuned and invested in the relationship. And like I feel like I have people like that in my life too, people that watch me on Instagram, but I don't see them ever.
I think that it's funny because, like, you know, there's people like in your life that come up to you and they're like, oh, I saw you did this, and I fully forget that I like shared that. They have like much more of an invested like interest of like, oh, I saw that you did this type of thing, and like I'm not necessarily putting it out so that they see it, that person sees it, but they like, even like my friends, for example, like will say stuff like that and I forget. And even though they know me a lot more intimately and they know like me as a person, I still feel like that the relationship of the persona I am on Instagram provides that parasocial relationship.
Yeah, it's really one-sided because you're not talking, they're not responding back. They're not giving you the same type of information that you're giving them on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And there are so many people that like know me, that live in my area, that are friends of friends or whatever, that probably watch my Instagram and like they think that they know me, but I don't know them at all.
How does that make you guys feel like with your friends and family? Because like when that happens with my friends and family, it makes me feel bad, I guess, for not sharing those things with them first, I guess, in a way. Like when my mom's like, oh, I saw you did that. I'm like, oh shit, like I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you that first.
Yeah.
But also that's what like Instagram and Facebook were created for.
That's
so
true.
That you can easily keep your friends and family updated with the shit that you have going on.
But when friends and family aren't sharing in the same way, it feels one-sided almost, even in friendships or family relationships, when I don't know as much about what's going on with them. And sometimes I'll even be like, oh, I shared that on Instagram, they must have seen it, they know what's going on in my life. But if I'm not asking them updates about their life, then that's like me doing a bad job maintaining the relationship.
What makes it a little different for me though is like if my friends are replying to my stories like, oh my God, congratulations, or like, oh my God, you look amazing, or like all those things, like then I feel like we're having a normal that's like our normal relationship. But then like if someone brings up something that happened like 3 months ago, and then we're just now talking about it, that's when I feel like it's a little bit weird.
Like when you see them,
and not
in
like
person.
Weird. Like I'm happy that they saw it. I'm happy that they like know what's going on and updating my life. But I guess like I would rather them like reply to the story and like we can have an interaction then and there instead.
It is interesting because I think this group of people, like your friends' family, your family's or your parents' friends, things like that, those are the types of people that prevent people from wanting to talk to cameras or like to start influencing or to make videos like that.
Wait, you're watching these videos? Oh my God, that's embarrassing. Like it feels awkward.
Yeah. But then I also kind of think about it on the flip side is like I realized not being on my personal account, I have missed so many things.
Same.
Because like people are constantly using their platforms to like update things. And so I started following like my friends and like making sure they're at the top of my list like on Instagram so that they know like so I just can keep up with them better. But it's kind of crazy how much I like missed.
Yeah, that's really something I need to do actually, and I think that would make it feel more like whole kind of keeping up with them and them keeping up with me, like because I don't follow my friends or family on that account, like, and I should because I never go on my personal account.
I never, and I don't even have it on my phone anymore because I just like
too many
accounts.
Yeah, that's so interesting. So did you guys feel like, what was your first thoughts on parasocial relationships, like where you're the fan first? Like, do you think you had that with Ellie Goulding or like with?
Oh yeah, like I feel like I've just grown up with them. I know, but like with Ellie, the most she's asked me is if I still lived in LA, which I didn't ever live in LA. Like, she doesn't know anything about me, and I know everything about her.
Definitely
so that's also the. Yeah, just because, I mean, even like I would say who's someone like Victoria, just being Farley. Like we talk to her, we're friends with her, but like
I would count that as not a parasocial relationship.
No,
like,
I
with
wouldn't.
Victoria.
Yeah.
But like, so I just watched her YouTube video,
wasn't it?
And
so
like,
good?
she just gave out. She like said so. Like, I learned so much about her in that YouTube video, but she wasn't saying it to me directly. Like, it wasn't a conversation we were having together.
Yeah,
it was a one-sided like watching her content.
But for me, in that so I watched her video and I immediately like messaged her after.
Like you messaging Devon after seeing her video.
Yeah. So I think like I don't know, but like I guess maybe I don't know. I feel like I talk to Victoria a lot, but maybe that's a little bit different.
But that shows that it's you reaching out to them afterwards. That kind of, even if you weren't friends with Victoria and say she was just a creator that you admired or whatever, and then you reach out to her after the fact, that would, in your mind, make it more of a relationship. And for her as well, probably, like, she'll maybe start to remember your username or your profile picture or something to where she knows who you are. But then I think that's where like silent followers versus people who are talking to you plays such a big role, because that does help the person connect so much of you just sending them a message after watching a video. Like, that fully puts you in the influencer's mind.
Yeah. I still think that there's this weird, like, especially for content creators, where maybe we're both equally following each other and getting information from each other, not directly though. Like, we're both learning about each other, but like we're not actually having a conversation one-on-one. And maybe that's not a parasocial relationship, but it is a weird thing that a weird relationship that we have today.
But that's kind of interesting. I feel like a lot of influencers have categorized that sort of thing as like influencer friends or like Instagram friends or TikTok friends or like mutuals. Like, that's what a lot of people will like categorize that. Because then they start then they like meet in person and it like changes the relationship again.
Yeah.
But I think that that's maybe a different level of like a parasocial, like of the relationships in general.
I think it is. But it definitely is when people share more with you. Because like I have members of my audience are like people more in Dog Mom Club specifically, like where I do know a lot about their lives. They're sharing like intimate, detailed things, which makes me feel more comfortable to share. So I do feel like we're not like friends, but I would consider them Instagram friends is like what I call people. Or if I'm telling Cameron about people, I'm like, my Instagram friend, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. It's
That's
interesting.
So interesting.
It's a weird dynamic.
It is.
My biggest thing with a parasocial relationship and kind of like Instagram in general is that as creators, we like want people to feel like they know us.
Yeah.
And we want them to feel like we're tight and we're like best friends. And we are trying to cultivate that. But there's this like, there's some sort of line in every influencer's mind. I think everyone's different. That when that gets crossed, it all of a sudden makes it, you don't know anything about my life. You only see
that's so true.
I feel like Hello Teffy just did a video about that.
That's so
like,
true though.
She was saying when you have an like fans, for lack of a better word, on TikTok or whatever, and they're like hyping you up in the comments, you're like, yeah, girl, you know me, you know who I am. And then as soon as they say something negative, you're like, you do not know me.
You see 5 seconds of my day.
Yeah. But our whole true. Like, I think most people's goal is to make it feel like you are our best friends and you are along for the ride every single day.
Yes,
but I guess
parasocial relationship is essential to the creator. It is how we are able to make this a career.
But I think that like more creators could maybe set boundaries. Like, there's no boundaries that are like verbally said, but more creators could set boundaries of like, this is where our relationship stops. I don't know exactly how that happens, but like, this is where our relationship ends. And this is like, the rest of this is like my private life.
That's interesting.
And I feel like that's where like, that's when things get like murky or like things go wrong, is when someone crosses that invisible barrier boundary for the creator.
Yeah.
And then they feel violated. And then they like,
what would that be?
Like this.
Like, what would be crossing your barriers?
I don't like when people start telling me what I should be doing. Like, it's this
like just
weird,
offering advice,
people
like
feel
unsolicited.
entitled to know everything about your life because they feel like you're their friend. But then sometimes they'll comment on your, oh my God, what the fuck? People start feeling entitled to your life and your personality, but then they think they're your friend, and then they'll comment on a video and be like, girl, your hair looks like shit. Like, they think that they're your friend, but you don't have that relationship with them. You don't really know them, but they know you because they see you every single day on social media, and they know what you ate for dinner last week, and they know everything about you. So then they start feeling entitled to,
and they know your insecurities and like where to.
Yeah.
I don't know what it would be for me necessarily. I think I'm trying to think, like, for Ken, I feel like she's like now shared a lot more of her boundaries where she's like, I want to tell you my opinions. I want to tell you like about my life, but I don't want you to pass judgment on my relationships, and I don't want you to pass judgment on my like life decisions.
Yeah.
And you are not to like invade my home space. And like, you know what I mean? Like, she's not, but like, she's like come up to me at the bars. Like, she likes a lot of the back and forth in her comment section. So like, her boundary I think is a lot bigger than other creators' boundaries maybe. But when you cross the line of like passing judgment on her relationships and like her life decisions of like, I'm gonna adopt another dog or I'm gonna adopt a cat or whatever, like that's where she's like, no, you can't do that.
I agree. I think that's probably where it comes back to for most people is like, if you're hating on me, why are you following me? Basically, like, then just stop.
Yeah. Well, but I think that there's some people that like maybe some people could pass judgment in certain areas, like with you, Dev, like they could pass judgment on some things or like ask you more pointed questions and you wouldn't really care. But the second they start passing judgment about like being an introvert or like kind of your social choices, that's where you're kind of like, no, like that's for me, not for you.
But don't you think that's because that like where your boundaries would be are where your insecurities are, kind of like? Because I feel like I get like when people think I'm a bad dog mom or I train badly or things, that makes me more upset because like the thought that I'm not giving them a good life or something,
I
don't know, makes me sad.
Yeah, totally. I think
like things where I know, like where I don't question myself or where I feel confident in my decisions about things, then I don't care when people, like political things, for example, I don't care when people are like, I don't agree with that, blah, 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 because I'm like, okay, well, I do. So like you can leave or not. But it's like the more personal things, I guess.
The criticism from the people who actually know you and they feel like you're friends, so they feel like they can say this stuff to you, but like, yeah, like you don't know them. And so any criticism coming from those directions is kind of like, that's crossing a boundary. But
how do you feel about the difference between like your comment section crossing boundaries and like your DMs? I feel like those are two different reactions for me.
Yeah, like it's a little more, like it's worse in the comment section.
Yeah.
I feel like comments has never happened to me from somebody that I know or would consider like an internet friend. It's always like if it's viral and if it's a random stranger, where like more DMs I get, I feel like are from people who actually follow me and like do know about my life somewhat. So then when they're offering the advice, it's like Devon saying they think that they're friends or that their opinion is like going to actually be useful and everything. Versus like a comment, I'm like, I don't really give a fuck. But if like one of my like Instagram friends commented, that would be more intense, I feel like.
Yeah. I think it's like the ego of like other people seeing it.
I also really have to check my ego. Like I often find myself like when I'm reading a DM, like sometimes I'll have to read it to Cameron or something because I'm like, is this even me? Like I'm taking it as mean. Yeah. Is this even a mean thing? Or like, are they genuinely just asking a question?
Yeah.
I know. I feel the same way. I think that I am very quick to make it personal.
And sometimes like, it just feels personal, even if they're like intent behind it isn't mean, even if you take it that way. Like I've definitely blocked a few people at this point that I'm just happier without their constant opinions.
Yeah, for sure. I think that like when we've talked about kind of like on Smart List, like how Jason and Will are to Sean, I feel like if that was constantly me, like I would have to really, really build up myself in order to be like in Sean's position. But I like that interaction, but at the same time, I'm not at a point where like you guys could do that and say those things and I would be like chill about it. Like I would be very like emotional.
I wonder though if that was just their friendship before the podcast even happened. Like if we had a friendship originally outside of the podcast where we had that dynamic, then you'd probably be more fine with it like translating to the podcast where our friendship has like developed throughout the podcast.
That's true.
I feel like in all my friend groups I always had that one friend that everybody always picked on, and it was never me.
I'm the picked on.
And it could never be me. Like,
why? Because you're the one doing the picking?
Because I think if my friends were teasing me all the time, it would hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like when you're teasing your friend, it's not, you don't think you're hurting their feelings, but obviously you are.
I see what you mean.
I think I was like kind of that person in my like guy group of friends.
It's definitely a guy dynamic.
I feel like I could always tell that they were like very lighthearted about it. So I was able to take it more.
Do you guys feel like influencing has changed? Like if you were to see a celebrity that you really love or an influencer that you really love in person, has the way you would approach them or everything changed?
Yeah.
Being that we're influencers?
Yeah.
Yeah, like anytime I think of interacting with a celebrity that I like, I think about how I would like to be interacted with.
Yeah.
Because
I think
sometimes people come across as like too much or creepy, and I'm like, okay, this is how when people interact with me this way, then I like them. Like I want to talk to them.
Yeah.
So I think about that a lot.
I think most people I would like not talk to them if I saw them. But there's this I'm actually remembering this now. This one influencer that she has her own candle brand, and I just like I'm obsessed with her candles, and like I just love her personality and her. And she probably has so many people like that think that they're like best friends with her too. But I saw her in Aspen.
Oh shit.
And I was like so excited that I saw her, and I was like really debating if I should like say hi or not, because on her stories I know that she like had a really long travel day and she was very busy.
See, that's crazy that you knew that.
Exactly.
It is really crazy.
Wow.
But that's like what I was taking into account. But then I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna say hi because she's like talked about it before, and I'm so glad I did. And she was like the warmest person, but I didn't like. I kind of waited for her to like lead the conversation a little bit before like divulging that I.
What did you say? Oh, you talked to her first before telling her that you like knew her from the internet?
No, of course I was like, "Hey, Lindsay," like, and then kind of went on, but I didn't like. I wasn't like, "Oh my god, blah 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 blah." Like, I know all this stuff about you. It was just kind of. She was like, "Oh, are you guys skiing?" And we were kind of like having a nice conversation. And then I was like, "What are you guys doing here?" And she just told me she was like launching this candle collab with the hotel. And then I like felt like then she posted. She just launched the collab on Instagram, and I really wanted to be like, I saw this happen. I was there.
Someone announces their pregnancy and you knew about it ahead of time and you got a comment.
Yeah. I really
excited for everyone to know.
I was like so excited everyone else gets to know this now. It's like so me funny. And you, girl. Like
we knew.
But I deleted like I like someone to comment and congratulate her on it, but I was like, I was there.
That's interesting. Well, have you guys had people DM you that they've seen you in public but not said hi? Because I've gotten that a few times, and that almost weirds me out more because I'm like, literally, what was I doing? Like, I could have been doing absolutely anything.
Yeah, I think that's like a little bit more. I'd rather not know.
You what, Dev?
I don't think that weirds me out.
You'd rather them not say hi?
No, but I don't. It's not weird if they were like, I saw you.
I guess it's not weird. It's not weird for them. It's just more so I wonder, like, what was I doing? Like, was I being weird or picking my nose or something?
I do. Yeah. Do you pick your nose a lot?
Yeah, I do. I do, actually.
It's like dry. That's so funny.
But yeah, I think I don't know. I would go up to people and try to approach it more casually. I did with David Dobrik and everything. Me and my friend Victoria fully chased them like in an airport. So like I probably wouldn't do that now. Like chase people. It's a little much.
It's like the more famous the person is, the more acceptable it is to act insane.
Yes, that is so true.
Yeah. But is it because kind of just that like friendship just, like, actually isn't attainable? Like,
because think about like you, like say you had fans right now that were just following you. They're like, oh, she was at the pizza place. Let's go to the pizza place. Like that would be really creepy, like almost stalker vibes. But like people do that for Harry Styles and Taylor Swift and like all the bigger people. That's really interesting.
I don't.
Yeah. Okay, I have a list of pros and cons of parasocial relationships.
Oh, okay.
And so let's start with the positives, because I don't think that parasocial relationships aren't necessarily always negative. I mean, they're kind of unavoidable these days, but like there is a lot of good that can come from them. First being like that some people, it's hard to find role models, but on the internet you can find good role models and good influences, and it can open your eyes to outside opinions and diversity and help you grow as a person, being able to form these relationships with people who aren't actually in your circle.
Definitely. And also to find people who are like you, like if you're feeling alone or feel like you can't, if you don't have friends in your city that are similar to you or deal with the same things that you deal with, it's like you now have access to a whole world of people who might be like you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And another thing is like being obsessed with one person, singer, actor, fictional character, whatever, can also help you make friends, like real friends.
Oh, interesting.
Because of the shared interest. And that's how I've made a lot of friends. Like my best friend that I have, we became friends because I was wearing a Lady Gaga shirt. Like, and I've made a lot of friends from like being Ellie Goulding fans, or like,
that's really cool.
Yeah.
I think the other
go ahead.
A different like aspect of like feeling, seen, or like, you're not alone in the process, is you can kind of like, I think other things are more attainable to me because other people share them. Like,
yes, exactly.
Oh, I didn't know that I could do X, Y, or Z. Or like, I didn't even, that wasn't in one of my goals because I didn't think it was possible for me. And so there's all these things that kind of like become more attainable, or I don't know. It's just, I think that's like one of the coolest things.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, like before I started following actual influencers, I didn't think that I could actually be an influencer. I didn't know anything about it. But then
Do you think that because of the volume of influencers or internet celebrities or these types of people that you can have parasocial relationships with, do you think that overall it makes everyone like less obsessed? I don't know how to explain. Like because there's so many, like if I'm like love 20 different influencers, that I'm less obsessed than I am with Harry Styles. Like when I'm fully so like committed to him, if that, like Brooke and Connor from Brooke and Connor Make a Podcast. Brooke has her tiered crush list. And it's basically like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Tier 1, there can only ever be 1 or 2 celebrities in tier 1 because she's so focused on them. Then tier 2 is like she wants to like watch some interviews and she has a crush on them, but she's not like so obsessed. And then tier 3 is like light crushes. Like I feel like it's kind of like that with influencing.
Yeah.
I'm also curious too if it's like age group wise too, or like how you grew up, because I feel like you have a lot more people that like you keep tabs on, Maggie. And like I've only just started keeping tabs on like a handful of people.
Like probably 100. Like if I listed them all out, God. There's probably 100 different internet type celebrities that I keep up with.
That's crazy. I think my max is like 10. But like really I think that it's just, but you started like watching people on YouTube when you were like way young.
Yeah.
And I didn't really start following people until like college.
Yeah, like Trisha, Shane Dawson, all of those people to me are like the biggest celebrities.
Yeah.
Like, more than actors and everything. And then I also knew that they could get paid. Like when I was 10 years old, I knew that you could make money on YouTube.
I do think that there is like less obsession because there are so many people to be obsessed with, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah, like less stalker vibes.
Normalizing it. Yeah, it's making it. Yeah. But the scary thing about like YouTubers is like their career depends on you feeling like you have a friendship with them. So you really know everything about them.
You think in a way that's different than TikTok or?
No, it's different than like celebrities because celebrities have much clearer boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And like maybe you're in love with a character that they played on a TV show, but they are not that character. And obviously it becomes unhealthy when people start to really believe that
you're just that character.
I think that's part of the reason why celebrities look down on internet celebrities, because they share so much almost. Like they look down on that. Like it makes them look at it as less than like you're less mysterious.
Or like that they almost feel like the new pressure to share more.
Yeah, I think that also is huge. Like a lot of celebrities talk about that now, of like how their management is forcing them.
Yeah, to be on social media. Like you have to have like a following. You have to like have people, or like I'm curious if like any one of them has not gotten a job because they have less followers or like less presence on social media.
Probably.
Because it would make the publicity that much harder.
Because it'd be like back in the day, like a celebrity would do a movie, disappear 3-4 years, and then pop up in another movie. Like they didn't have to maintain in between.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, what's next on the list?
Having parasocial relationships make you feel less lonely and help you feel connected and socialize with people without having to exude the energy of socializing. Like this is really true for me as an introvert, being able to be in my home and feel connected with someone that I feel like is my friend on YouTube, but not actually having to put in the energy. Or like when people are in phases of their lives when they are lonely, they move to a new city, they don't have any friends, their family isn't nearby, having these parasocial relationships keep you company and make you feel less lonely, which I think is a good thing as long as you don't start just relying on these relationships and then start pushing away your real life for these parasocial relationships.
Yeah.
I was just looking up, like, I wonder if there's any studies done so far on like the type of like on how that social interaction actually affects your brain and health and everything compared to in-person social interaction. Because I feel like it would be very similar to our brains.
I think for me, it's very different. Like, I think it's social media interactions are a little bit more draining for me than like being in person.
Same. I agree. But do you mean social interactions where you're talking to people or just consuming content? Like listening to other people talk, watching videos, podcasts?
I think it's the type of content, like, because sometimes if I'm just like seeing someone just talk about their life, like that's not really draining. But if I see too much where it's like things that I'm not doing that I wish I was doing, then that's kind of draining. But like the actual act of like commenting or DMing or like having conversations with people on social media is draining to me.
Yeah, like I don't know how to explain. Like I feel like when we talk and we record a podcast or we do a happy hour or something, it's fulfilling a social need. Like, and we're still talking, But I think it is probably slightly different in our brains than being in person. Like, I don't fully feel the same feelings afterwards as if we were in person.
Yeah, like on a Friday night where I'm like, oh, I wish I was doing something tonight and I'm not. So then I watch YouTube videos. Like, that's not fulfilling. It's not completely filling me up, but it does make you feel less lonely.
Yeah, definitely. That's just interesting about like just the communities now and how we're more spread out, and that's just the way things are. Like, I've been seeing a few TikToks on like building new communities and like just the way that the houses are positioned and making it more community focused, like having a town center and like smaller cities basically where you could exist just in your community, and there's the doctor and the movie theater and all of that in one little walkable area.
That's so interesting because that's how it used to be.
Yeah, they're like starting to, I think they're like opening one in California. They're like starting a new city. I don't know. But then also I think people are just like making mock-ups on TikTok of their imaginary ones.
They have a city like that in Tempe, Arizona, and I don't think you're even allowed to have a car if you live there.
See, that's kind of cool.
Really? It's kind of culty though. Like, why can't I?
That is a little culty.
There's something called the X Life. I think it's actually in Phoenix too, or in Scottsdale or something. And it's meant to be like a social, like, living place. So like you have a gym, they have like events and stuff in the building. It's like your apartment building, and then they have like an event space, an event center, and like a gym space and workout classes, and all of that's like included in your rent for the apartment.
Interesting.
The X Club.
And the X, I don't know what it's called in Phoenix or like wherever it is.
That's interesting.
Let me look.
That's really interesting because I just wonder if it would make less than, like, if there would be less internet relationships and parasocial relationships if we lived in communities like that again.
They have co-living.
Yeah.
Is it like a dorm?
It kind of feels like that when my friend was describing it, but I think it's just like,
it's like being put with random roommates is what it feels like. Yeah, it's like being put with a random roommate. There's
you can't have your own place.
Like a nightmare.
They do.
There's
have
workspaces.
Too, but there's also co-living as an option.
Yeah.
Whoa! I just read something very interesting in this article. Those with avoidant attachment styles are generally wary of closeness. They often get attached to TV characters and personas more than other people.
Mm-hmm. That was a negative one.
Do you have more positives?
Because the last one was just like, from our perspective, being able to help people.
Yeah.
Is a huge bonus. Being able to help like millions of people by putting energy just into like one video, you know, not having to individually connect with each person.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, that's really cool.
I like that.
But yeah, obviously some people get so attached, you know, like people who are like chronically online or like super fans of people, and all they want to do is like sit on Twitter or like in chat rooms or whatever and just talk about Taylor Swift or whatever, and they start to neglect their real life. They start to say no to plans. They start to not want to hang out with their family because they're talking to their online friends or whatever.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, I saw that these parasocial relationships allow you to have relationships with people without the risk of rejection or conflict because it's one-sided.
Yeah.
And
so then you don't ever learn how to do those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I have really a fear of rejection. So, I mean, it's like, yeah, it's easier to just sit here and be obsessed with so-and-so than to like try to make new friends or whatever.
Yeah. I find that though, the difference between people, like how we're talking about replying to people, I find that very different of the type of person who's like a silent follower and just is really obsessed with the person and knows everything about them, but has never even sent them a message, versus like somebody who thinks that they're friends more than they're actually friends, but still involves themselves in the conversation and like participates.
I find myself like with some of those bigger creators that I don't really like or comment or anything on their videos.
Like, I think that's a big change I've made since influencing, is that now I do for like all, like, no matter how big they are, I'll comment. Because like I love seeing Elise Myers in all the TikTok comments. Like any video that I'm like, oh, I love this. Yeah. Like it's on my For You page. Like I love that she commented on it. Yeah. Like I think it's also kind of a good way to put your name out there almost on other people's content.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. But your point about the silent followers and the talkative followers, what do you think one's better than the other?
As somebody posting content, I prefer when people talk to me, I guess, and involve themselves, because then it feels less like a parasocial relationship.
But then the followers that you're constantly replying to, I think it blurs boundaries and they start actually thinking that you do have a relationship.
I think it's also probably really different for me and you based on follower levels. Like I assume that you probably get a lot more DMs where it's like harder to keep track or to like remember everyone and whatnot. Like for me, it's basically Dog Mom Club. Like I know them. I know their faces. I know their names. I know them. If you're outside of Dog Mom Club, it's less of a chance that I like know you, but there still are probably like 5 to 10 people who like regularly reply to my stories.
But there are people that regularly reply to my stories too, but those people are seeing my face on Instagram in stories all day talking about my life. And all I'm seeing is a little picture of like them and their dog. Like I still, even though I might know their name and I talk to them every single day, I still think it's a parasocial relationship because they know so much more about me.
Which are the interactions that I think are the most draining, kind of, is like those conversations.
Yeah.
Not in a mean way against them.
And like I will definitely say, like, once Ellie Goulding started like replying to me on Twitter and stuff, like that definitely fed into this like parasocial delusion of like, oh, she knows me. Yeah. And then it's crazy, especially with celebrities. And I think with influencers too, that's when people start crossing the lines, like how Ken has to like set boundaries, is people start feeling entitled to your life. And like things that you do will like offend them and ruin their day. Like when Taylor Swift started dating Maddie Healy, and all these people, first of all, felt entitled to her relationship to say like, this is why you shouldn't be dating him. He's really bad, blah, blah, blah. But then petition. Also just like being completely heartbroken.
They made a petition. It had like 200,000 signatures.
That is
so dumb. Like,
I guess that is a very good point, that like then they start to be disappointed, or like I think also Remy Bader is one of the creators I just love, but her biggest thing is that she has gained more weight and become more plus size. Like before she was like a little plus size or like on the cusp of it, and she's become more plus size, and the plus size community like drags her through the mud because
I saw that.
But she's never once been like, I am a plus size creator and like these are my mission and goals and stuff. And so I think it's very interesting because so much of that community is very offended and like,
by what?
Just like they're like, why aren't you speaking? Why aren't you doing more for this? Why aren't you speaking out against this? Like, why are you supporting this brand? Why are you doing this? And it's like, it'd be one thing if she kind of came out into that, but again, it doesn't really matter whether or not she was like wanted to be like in the plus size community to begin with. Like, she's on her own path doing what she wants to do, and like people can't really be offended by that.
No,
but they choose to be like very, very, very drastically like offended by things that she does. And I just like, I feel for her so much because I'm like, she's just trying to do her fucking best and get out of bed. Like, she has anxiety. I think she has depression. She like she struggles with binge eating. Like she's gained like a lot of weight, and she's just trying to like do her. And I think that would be really impossible.
It's like when Mary Skinner used to post like her outfits, and she'd be like size 8 to 10 or something, and then everyone got upset with her by calling herself mid-size, or like even just saying what size is when everyone's like, no, you're so skinny. It's like it's a size, and like everybody, everyone's just on their own journey.
And then people like got all up in arms about like her losing weight too.
Yeah,
they're like, you lost weight, or like whatever. It's just like, it's not really, those are the boundaries, and I think like those are the weird ones that I think people really have to like check themselves on.
I think that also shows of the size of the creator, though, of like what your differences might be. Like even me and Devon right now, like I'm thinking more my fear of like replying to people and stuff like that is that I will seem less like an influencer to them, and that they would start considering more just a friend that then they don't look up to, I guess, as much, or wouldn't want to learn from or whatever. And then they'll see all the behind the scenes of my life and be like, oh, this girl's just like a mess. Like, why would we do anything with her?
I feel that. Yeah, because you have to maintain the parasocial relationship. You have to work hard to keep because you, at the end of the day, want, as an influencer, for people to feel like they're your friends.
Yeah. Also, we haven't talked about like how much it has to do with brand collabs and everything, of them feeling like they trust you and trust your recommendations and will buy the things that you're recommending to them.
Yeah.
I also am curious too what you guys think about like the podcast medium, because I feel like all of us share so much deeper and like a lot more on the podcast than on our social media.
I've heard from like other podcasters that talk about that they feel also way more connected when people come up to them and say that they listen to their podcast rather than watching their content or whatever. They're like, oh, you really know me. Like, oh, you're actually a fan. Like,
yeah. That's so true. I think it's also kind of interesting too. Tinks is an influencer that has really shifted her content to focus heavily on Instagram stories and her podcast.
Is that, doesn't she do Q&As? Is that what she does?
She does 2 Q&As a week on her stories.
Are they themed, or are they, what are her Q&As?
Just ask me anything. They're like literally anything about her life.
Interesting. Is it more about her life than advice?
A lot of the Q&A, I would say it's like 50-50. Like 50% is like about her life, what she's doing, why she's doing it. And then 50% is advice.
I think my last Q&A was like very much an advice Q&A that I did. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Yeah.
What do you
mean?
Did
you like that? Like how did it make you feel to get more of those
I liked it. I feel like I was more into it. Like I'd rather give people advice than talk about my life. And I think I was the one picking those questions because I feel like it's more helpful for people than like being like, what's your favorite color? But also I'm like, I want people to be interested in my life. Like I want people to be asking me questions about myself.
But the advice that they're asking you is about you. They're asking you because you share those things about your life specifically.
Yeah. But it's kind of interesting though, because her content is like very much shift. Like I don't think she puts that much effort into TikTok anymore, and she doesn't really post like, she does like photo dumps on Instagram, but she doesn't really like post a lot on Instagram.
Interesting.
And
I mean, it's impossible to do everything, so it's kind of nice to see someone that's just like leaning into 2 things.
Yeah. And Mary kind of like stopped doing TikTok altogether too, right?
She did, yeah.
I didn't know that.
And she's just doing podcasts, YouTube, and Instagram.
Damn, everyone who gets a podcast, once they start making money on it, they're like, okay, I'm a podcaster. I think it's it's like offers stability. I think that a lot of creators want more if they're getting consistent brand deals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I kind of like the longevity of a podcast over social.
Like that fans will be fans longer of a podcast?
Maybe, but I think I like it more for like the longevity of like our careers and what we want to do. I like that we have this because I see this, like I see myself investing way more into this versus investing into I think it just offers a lot more.
is, you know how like parasocial relationships are the most essential thing for an influencer's career? When you have a podcast or a YouTube channel, you let people feel even more connected to you, and that those people have so much more engagement and like so many more people care about them because they feel like they are literally friends because they sit down and share so much with you rather than just posting like some kind of funny sketch TikTok that's like 15 seconds long. Like,
that makes a lot of sense.
It is the parasocial relationship, the friendship that people feel that make people care.
Yeah.
I think people also take it more seriously maybe, or consider it more of like an actual career in a sense. Like I think like Brooke and Connor, they consider them, like when people ask them what they do now, they'll say like they're podcasters rather than TikTokers.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because maybe it comes off as more professional to strangers.
Probably.
Yeah. I know Jenna Palek does that too sometimes.
Do you have more on your list? So cool. I want to talk about family vloggers as well at some point.
Oh, yeah. I want to talk about heartbreaks. Have you ever felt heartbroken over something that's happened in a parasocial relationship?
Ooh, definitely people dying or dogs dying or things. I would get sad.
Yeah.
When Zayn left One Direction, I cried.
Yeah. Also. Yeah, like, but so with parasocial relationships, like, you feel like you know everything about a person. Let's say your favorite celebrity. Let's say Lizzo was your favorite celebrity. And then all this bad stuff started coming out about her. And then that is like a hard. Have you ever experienced like someone that you love doing something that you kind of like didn't support and it like kind of hurt?
Like I literally like the thought of that stuff coming out about Harry Styles, like that I don't know what I would do. That would be so heartbreaking.
It's like it flips your world upside down because you think you know something about a person and then it's like, well, wait. Or even like when people do things that don't align with your morals.
That's what I think is not okay though. Like I think that's like it's their own decision. And it's like I can't let you know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's easier said than done. Like, okay, so I remember like when Ellie Goulding was single and there was like a rumor that she like cheated on someone with someone else. And I was like, Ellie would cheat on someone? Like that makes me really upset. I don't like that. It just made me feel gross and like, oh, do I actually like things like that obviously I'm not entitled to. It's not my business at all. But like it still made me feel like,
because if you had a friend who cheated, you would feel very weird about that and be like, oh, I don't know if I want them to be my friend.
Because it's like a role model thing. Yeah.
I remember I felt like that about certain people that like, especially when I was younger and just thought drugs were like the devil. And like I found out that somebody like one of my friends was like smoking weed or like whatever. Like that's not my business. But I was very like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
like I was the same way.
How dare you? How could you? Yeah, and that was like very like mind-boggling to me.
Did you guys see
even, like, celebrity like hearing about celebrities doing drugs? That was like a big like, oh my god, like I cannot even believe that.
Or if you find out that a celebrity like smokes cigarettes.
I know when I saw Will Arnett smoking cigarettes, I was very disappointed.
I know.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna write him a note.
Wait, but did you guys see the videos of Miley Cyrus that she's been doing, like reflecting on the past and stuff, where she like pulls up a video or something? Oh my god, they're so good. You need to watch them. They're like so good. But there's one, remember when she was smoking like at 13 or something, and there was like a picture that came out of her with a bong, and everyone flipped out about it. Like it was like the biggest news story that she was smoking out of this bong. And in the video, she's like, it was actually salvia, so that's crazy. Like it was.
What is that?
It's way worse. Salvia is like a very intense drug.
Holy shit.
But like everyone thought she was smoking weed at the time, and it was like horrible.
Way worse than what she was actually doing.
That's so funny. It's just because like you feel like you know someone, and then you find out something that changes this like perfect image you have of them in your head, and it flipped your world upside down.
I wonder what people would think about
Disney
us.
stars. But I think that's what Disney stars were to me. I think anytime like a Disney star was like just living their normal life, it was like earth shattering to me that they like had sex or they like before they got married. Because like at the time I was like very like, you must be married before you have sex, whatever.
Yeah.
And then also like drugs or drinking or anything like that.
Yeah.
What do you think about you would make your audience be so shocked? I'm trying to think. Like, what if we all actually like hated our dogs?
Yeah, that would be
I think that would be
canceling moment.
Yeah.
When a male celebrity gets a girlfriend and all of their fans are heartbroken, but like will even like attack the girlfriend and like that whole thing.
That's kind of nuts.
There's literally a girl at the Jonas Brothers concert like a few nights ago went up to Priyanka and she was like, I really thought I was gonna marry Nick Jonas, but I'm glad you did. Priyanka's like, okay.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Like, that's a lot.
That's really funny.
But so I saw this TikTok and it was this girl doing a skit basically, and she was like, this is what it's going to be like in the future when the kids of family vloggers are adults. And it was the kid who's the family vlogger is now an adult and they're sitting at a restaurant and the server comes up to them and they're like, oh my god, you're Sarah. I literally used to watch your diapers be changed. I saw your first steps. Oh my god, I remember when your parents decided to do this and you went on this vacation and I totally thought your parents shouldn't have given you that haircut, or like all of these crazy things.
Yes.
That is going to be so wild in the future. Like just the thought of that is so crazy because you're not choosing to share any of those things about yourself. And you have a whole parasocial relationship with thousands, millions of people when you didn't initiate that relationship. That's so crazy.
That is really fucking
I am
crazy.
curious about the people that, you know, say up until the kid is entering into like kindergarten or maybe like first grade or whatever, they can start to kind of understand what's going on. And they start to take their kids offline and like let that be because I know that there's some kids that are like, or some parents that are like, I'm, you know, now I'm going to let my kids like decide when they want to be on social media or like if they want to be involved in social media or not. Because like there's especially like when I talk to people in Brand Deal Boss, especially if people have kids, I'm like, do you feel comfortable sharing your kids and content, or like do you want them to be completely out of it? And I remember one mom was like, she lets her kids decide like whether or not they're going to be in it. So like for brand deals and stuff, and she's like, I can't rely on them to like be in the video or not. And I think that's a really, because I think her kids are like 13, 14 or something. So she really lets them make a conscious decision about it. But I'm curious the people that are like, their kids are like online all the time and like they're part of their community and part of their content and stuff. And then all of a sudden it like stops one day because they want to give their kid autonomy over their like online presence.
Yeah, that's like such a hard decision because there's some creators that I love that show their kids and some that don't show their kids at all. That would be such a hard decision.
I think it's also really tough too. Like I wonder if it's going to be like similar to like child actors and like how child actors feel about like being the public eye and everything like that.
So one state just recently made like similar Illinois. Child labor. Yeah. Oh yeah, it was Illinois. Yeah, they made like basically child labor laws for influencing.
They didn't, but I don't think that they like laws? I don't think that they put parameters around how much they have to work, or I think it's just money wise.
I think it might be money wise of like making sure that they
have to put a percentage away.
Yeah, because that's another huge thing is that parents just take all the money and screw their kids over, and that's a big deal. I feel like me personally, like it'll kind of just have to be deciding as I go sort of thing, like because there's not a lot of research on it. Finley's literally on my desk. I really can't. Finley, get down. Get down. Off that way. Like, I think of myself as a kid, and like when my parents would try to do home videos or record me, like I never even wanted that when it wasn't going anywhere.
I didn't want a picture taken.
Exactly. Like I'd be like, no, like, why do you need to record me? So like I can't imagine if it was like being put on something. Like I like how Lauren Giraldo's just pregnant right now. She hasn't actually had the kid, but I like people who talk about their own experiences, like being a mom or going through the pregnancy or whatever, without talking about like the specific children's issues. Like they're having a really hard time potty training and stuff. Like they don't want that information out there, but you could talk about the way that you're potty training or something.
But then I also think about it that those people, like if you talk about potty training and you're potty training, or like I know there's one influencer that I follow and her kids like just slow to like speak, and like it's not a big deal, but like she now is able to comfort so many of those other moms that like their kids are slow to speak.
I don't know. That's so hard. But I can't imagine of like the way people talk about our dogs. Imagine getting messages like that about your fucking child. Like that's I can't imagine. Like if people are talking shit about your child, if they call it ugly, or being obsessed with it, like that would also be weird. Like how people say that they want our dogs and like, oh, I'm gonna steal your dog, or like I'm gonna take your dog home. Like imagine if people were saying that about your baby.
Yeah, or again, going up to you in public and being like, oh, I loved his haircut, or did you get him that one toy, or how's he liking his new bike? Like, that would just, I mean, I don't know.
That's so hard.
It's really fucking weird.
The brand deals for moms are like insane because moms have like some of the highest like purchasing power.
Yeah.
So I think that's really hard.
So hard. And then it's like, I'm sure you're buying things for the baby with the money too. It's like you just to survive. It's like, oh, sweet. This would really help our family out to have this extra money for the kid, but it's not directly the kid's money. It's very complicated.
I think it's pretty easy to do ads for products for kids without including the kids in it.
I think so too. Depending on,
but you'd really have to do like a good job of making that a routine part of your content. Like, here's what I'm getting for so and so today, and like why you like that, and you have to like talk about that on a regular basis. You know what I mean? Like you couldn't just like all of a sudden your ad is about this toy. And
yeah, it would definitely, you have to be like still a mom creator where you're still talking about
at
mom
least tips. Yeah.
I don't know. That's really hard. Well, so did you guys hear about Ruby Frankie?
No.
Who? Oh God. Okay. Get ready. So there's this vlogger, Ruby Frankie, and she has two sisters as well. These are like Mormon girls. They live in Utah. She has two sisters who are also family vloggers. And I knew of one of the sisters like long before I knew of this girl. Like I used to watch one of the families like literally 10 years ago when they were having their first kids, and now their kids are like 12. Anyways, she vlogs absolutely everything. She records their punishments. She'll be on camera being like, we didn't let him eat breakfast today. He did this wrong. He's not getting breakfast. Or they're very Christian or Mormon. Yeah, they're Mormon, I think. But they talk about a lot of like religious things or why they need to be punished for doing certain things. They like fully just share absolutely everything on the vlogs. And people for
wait, what is this again?
Ruby Frankie. Is this again? Their thing is called 9 Passengers.
Okay.
Their YouTube channel, because they have 9. They either have 9 children or there's 7 children, and then there's the mom and dad.
There's 9 of them.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, gross.
So people for years have been like have tried to report them, which happens to a lot of families. Like I definitely used to watch a lot of families, and they would get reported to CPS like a lot. Like CPS would come to their house and be like, I saw you do this. And like I would like those family vloggers, so I'd be like, oh, they didn't do anything wrong. Like there's nothing. There's just crazy people who think that they're parenting a certain way or think that they know certain things about them. So then they report them. So that's kind of what people thought about this. Like, is it legitimate? Is it not? Nobody was ever actually checking them out. And then the other day, one of the little boys went to the neighbor's house and complained that he was hungry and thirsty and had duct tape tied around his ankles and bruises and like so many marks. They released the 911 call of the neighbor who called and was like, something's wrong with these kids. Like, we experience this a lot. Like, I know things are going down with them. So then they went back to the house, and there was a little girl. The youngest girl was also tied up with duct tape and stuff on her ankles. So she got arrested, the mom and her business partner. They do a podcast together talking about mom stuff and parenting. They both got arrested. And it's just like very crazy. Like
that.
The older sister posted an Instagram story of the police there and was like, finally something's happening.
Holy shit.
It's so crazy.
So all of their 9 kids have just been abused.
And it's been public, basically, the whole time. So now, like, if you look on like 9 Passengers on TikTok, people have made so many clips, like, or gathering all of the crazy shit that they would say.
But, you know, like,
holy fuck.
I wonder if that's like, it's maybe like a positive thing, but also kind of like gives more merit to those people that are like trying to see things where there's not anything to be seen.
Yeah, that's what's weird.
Do you know what I mean?
That could be a bad thing.
It's very
but
odd.
Like, it's also like, thank God those kids got, but like it also kind of sucks because nothing was able to be done via social media.
Yeah, and the kids ultimately were not helped by people on social media being possibly psycho, because this could give people more legitimacy to be psycho to other families report. Or other people and
that's
stuff.
True.
Yeah,
and that's why I have a really strong opinion about like all of the gossip channels and like gossip, you know, Reddit and all of that stuff. I have such strong opinions about that because I think everything that those things represent is just shit that causes like so much anxiety, headaches, and defensiveness where it doesn't need to be. Mm-hmm. And so I think all of it's like really, really bad. And I try never to like look at any of it and like, you know, I say not interested to those things because I'm just like, there's no merit to anything that they're saying in the first place. Mm-hmm. And they're just trying to start shit for no reason. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know. I just feel very strongly about those because there's like that other girl, that Brianna girl, who like had her life torn apart because of a fucking Reddit thread.
Who?
She just had like her name is Brianna Media, and she had like her income basically taken away because people like brands couldn't partner with her anymore. Because she's the girl that like hit her dog, and then started to GoFundMe for it.
I beg her in like a YouTube vlog. She like included the clip where she was hitting her dog or something.
I don't remember the details of it, but people were like felt very entitled to like everything about her life. Mm-hmm. And she made a mistake and got run through the mud for like years. Mm-hmm. And is like just now getting her life back together.
That is really interesting about video. Like sometimes I see, you know, when you see like a dog walker, they're like, this dog walker's an animal abuser or something, and like the dog walker definitely hit the dog or something. But like, yeah, sometimes I watch that and I wonder, like, is it like is it actually an abusive person, or like did this person make one bad mistake and hit the dog that one time?
Right.
Yeah. Still bad, but
yeah, right.
Like when everything's on
video. That's why I think the dog training is really tough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think those people get run through the mud a lot.
They definitely do. But that's the same as parenting, I think. Like, because it's parenting dogs and babies. Like, I think a lot of people get the same criticisms of just, you're doing everything wrong. You need to do it my way.
Right.
I don't know. I think I'm more hesitant with the family vlogger stuff of myself going forward because I watched so many families where there are, like when I saw that video of the girl doing that, I was like, holy shit. Like I would have those feelings for several different families. Like I watched them for years having multiple children and watching those children go up, and you feel like you know that child. Like I would feel like I could go hold it because you feel like you know it so well. You're like, oh, you had a third birthday party theme of this, and remember when you got in trouble for this? Like,
yeah,
it's a lot.
Yeah.
Do you think if your parents, when they were recording home videos, if they were like, we'll get $1,000 though if you do this and you can get a toy? Like, I'm trying to think of how I would have felt if my parents, like, if it was their job.
I would have been down. I think.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, I wonder if you more think of it like cool, like, oh, my parents do this. Like, it's a cool thing that I get to help them kind of like cool. Take your daughter to work day.
Yeah, I don't know if you would think.
I think it also depends
at a certain
like,
age, but at first, you don't really have a concept of cool.
It would be very heavily influenced by the other moms because the moms would pass judgment and tell their kids how they feel, and those kids would be telling.
That's interesting. Yeah,
in school. So it would seem like it's like their opinion, but you know it's coming from the parents and them overhearing conversations about, I can't believe Emily does this with her kid.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's really interesting.
And then you would be hearing that feedback from.
The one thing I hate and do disagree with is like when people have toddlers, 3, 4, 5-year-olds, and they're like, the toddler's telling me that they want to take the video. They want to make the TikTok. And it's like they want to make a video, but like they cannot understand the concept of people seeing it. Like, that's very two different things. They cannot conceptualize that.
Yeah.
They're like, I like looking at myself, literally.
Yeah, they're like, I love seeing what my mouth does.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that it's hard to set the boundaries, but I feel like more creators could start setting boundaries with their communities.
Do you think that needs to be something like physically said? Like how Ken
I think so.
More? Yeah.
I think it has to just be more frequently stated for people.
I do like some people will post, like Becca Martinez from The Bachelor will do that sometimes, where she'll post and be like, I'm telling you guys this, but I'm not accepting any like opinions on the matter.
Yeah.
Or like I want to do that sometimes if I'm talking about like the dog's barking or something. If I post anything training wise, I want to share it because I want to share that the dogs aren't perfect, or like share the negative sides too, but I'm not looking for advice on the situation. I'm just sharing to relate to people, not to get opinions.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
Yeah, me too.
I think Ken does she's like started to do that more too, like where she just states the boundary like in her content. She's like, I don't care what you think about this outfit. Like, don't tell me. I don't care.
Yeah. I love when people do that. Because that is so fucked up. Like, imagine just going out into the world and someone's like, your outfit's ugly.
Exactly. That's the other weird thing about parasocial relationships. Like, I don't know you. I don't feel
and that those people wouldn't say those things in person though either. Exactly. They're saying it because it's
like my friends wouldn't say that to me. Exactly. But the comfort of being like anonymous behind a screen.
I might tell you if your outfit's ugly. You don't have any ugly outfits. That's why.
I still, in those situations though, I still am only telling somebody I don't like their outfit if they're like asking me what they should wear.
Exactly.
And if they have another option.
Like, if it's like, is this flattering on me? Like, that sort of thing. Like, I'm not telling you I don't like it just to tell you I don't like your outfit.
Yeah.
I also think it's so personal too, because like some people, I'm like, I don't like that outfit, but you clearly are obsessed with it and you love it. So like, I'm not about to be like, I hate it. Like,
it all goes back to don't yuck anybody's yums. Like, there's no
that's
point.
Really funny. I've never heard that.
Yeah.
I love that.
I learned that because I was really bad at that, specifically with food, because I'm so picky that I would tell people I was eating with, like, that looks fucking disgusting. And then I realized, like, oh, that's rude to say.
My little sister does that too. And I say, don't yuck my yum. Fuck off.
You were the person traumatizing me at the lunch table.
Yeah. Yeah. My best friend used to bring oysters every day, and I'd be like, you're gross.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, she'd have oysters in a little mustard packet.
That's really cute.
It was cute looking back, I guess.
Oh,
that's like so like let me just get my little oyster spoon.
I know. I didn't even think of it that way at the time, like that it was bougie at all.
Yeah.
That is a funny lunch. Speaking of lunch.
Speaking of lunch, I'm gonna go eat some broccoli and cheese soup.
I'm gonna go make some chicken nuggets.
Oh, is that because we were talking about chicken nuggets?
No.
You're gonna go make some turkey, Britt?
No, I'm just gonna like eat lunch meat and veggies. Little snack.
Wow,
you're so healthy.
I just felt like shit yesterday.
I feel like you just got breakfasts and lunches. Like you always eat healthy breakfasts and lunches.
I try.
It's the protein.
Otherwise, I feel, gotta get my protein up.
Okay, well, thanks so much for listening to another episode. Make sure you join our Facebook community, follow us on Instagram and TikTok, subscribe to our YouTube channel, leave us a rate and review wherever you listen to podcasts, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Yay.